All right, welcome back. It's been it's been a minute since I did anything here, and I thought I would pop in for a little bit and see what up and all that. Let's see if I can get my brother in here. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Or depending on how you feel about my brother. If you if you don't like him, then maybe you're going to think, "Man, that's not cool. I hate that guy." But I like him, so we're going to get him in here. We'll see if Lath pops up. I don't know. He might. Steve Carrender. I don't know who that is. So yeah, let's. I don't know if he's still up at my parents' house or what. If he is, I mean, well, his internet can't be any worse than it already is because his internet sucks. So, and I don't know why, but my wife and I, if we move up into that area, we're definitely going to look into getting some better freaking internet than what they got. Because, which I mean, if you ain't got the money, you ain't got the money, and there's nothing, no shame in that. But I'm a spoiled boy. I need better internet. That's all. My wife has spoiled me and made me accustomed to a lifestyle and a way of being. So my brother just sent a message on Messenger, but I'm going to wait and see if he pops up here and says something. While I'm doing it, I'm going to keep painting. I have this Be Here, Bahir, whatever, they're light blue on the bottom and freaking darker blue on the top. And I'm painting this guy up. I mean, really, the horns and the claws, and then give him a wash, and not a whole lot to do with him. I do have some other figures I need to paint up. And I'm thinking these guys, I'm going to go like wild with these guys. And by wild, what I mean is these are fly demons or Casmi. And I'm going to paint their backs like metallic purple. Oh, look at that. No.
If
Uh,
somebody calls me a misogynist, I just hop on my chariot and ride away.
if someone calls you a what?
Misogynist and sexist, I hop on my chariot and ride away.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I know you've seen it. I sent it to you.
But anyway, so I'm going to paint these fly demons up to look like what we call blue bottle flies. They have a dark blue metallic back, and that's because they're the ones you always see camping out around corpses of whatever, not necessarily people, but anything. So
How's my brother doing?
I am, well, my wife made some hamburgers that I'm going to eat here in a little bit. And I watched like, I don't know how many episodes of Reacher last night. Hey, how you doing, James Lowry?
Hey, James.
James Lowry, how tall are you? And be honest. I need to know. Hey, Shadow. Links into what's it? You're always welcome. One of the greatest generals in history leading a giant army. And what's the other one say?
Disabled teenager who's going to win.
He did too. This is a true story. Saladin did not believe Jerusalem could ever be taken as long as King Baldwin was alive. Shadow's 5'10". That's above average, Shadow. I mean, that means I wouldn't tower over you. 5'10". Okay. So that means, in accordance with the prophecy, James Lowry shall be called Little James, and I'll be called Big James. Not really, but we finally finished the last episode of season 4 of The Chosen. So now we got to wait for the movie to get out theaters and be added to Prime, etc. And I'm all like, ugh.
I watched a fun movie yesterday.
Even though I read the book, so I know what happens. Right? It's one of those things where it's like you're watching a story about the life of Jesus, and it's like, well, I kind of read the book, so yeah, I kind of know how it's going to end.
I don't watch
shirt, James. That's one of my favorite sports teams, the Fighting Caucasians. And my other favorite sports team is, of course, University of Kentucky Wildcats.
I don't like watching those shows about Jesus.
Dude, you would love this show.
Oh, no, because every time I watch those shows, I want to put my armor on, Diaz Volt, retake the Holy Land.
You would love this show. The guy everyone they got playing everyone is amazing. It's
Mom's been watching them.
Yeah, it's just a really good show, It makes some really good points that I think a lot of people miss out on. And so, like one of the big ones is, so the question is, who's going to be Big Little James and Big Little, right? Medium James? What's up, Crafting Gamer? How you doing? And Lee, how you doing? Yeah, I am doing very well. I have just been very busy. And Monday, I don't know what happened. I just, I felt not good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It wasn't anything I ate, because all I ate was what my wife cooked for me. And my wife is an amazing cook. So maybe I was just dealing with a little bit of the barometric pressure change or something. I mean, I called Hungar and I was like, dude, I feel pretty much like hot garbage over here. I am not going to stream if you want to go on, because, Hungar keeps saying he's going to go on Tuesdays, but I don't know if he ever did.
I went on a couple of times, but I don't stream when I'm up here in Kentucky.
Well, I mean, because up on that mountain, you've got like the worst internet ever invented by anyone.
Yes.
It's like,
but the best.
But it's good to see you, Lee. Yeah, and then I have to. I cannot tell a lie, guys. I guess I could actually, because that's something that
he can. I've heard him do it before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay. Generally only to like save someone's feelings, but whatever. Yeah.
Or women.
I've been playing way too much Valheim.
Every time I log on to Steam, he's on Valheim.
It's like, James is on Valheim. Or actually on Steam, I'm Teddy Ruxpin. And that comes from, again, back when I used to play a lot of Battlefield. My character was Teddy Ruxpin. And every time I'd snipe somebody or kill somebody, I'd always be like, would you like to hear a story or some shit? And some people would get mad. And then I switched up for a while and I was the Hamburglar.
And I was the Grimace.
And Ungar was the Grimace. And
Something
every
just-
time I'd take someone out, I'd just type into world chat like robble robble. So, just letting people know.
Most young people will never know the beautiful voice of Pavlov.
Stop.
As I play
Can't get in
online,
trouble for like essaying like a billion women or something.
I play an online phone game, and this is my profile picture, but it doesn't have the writing; it's just the face. And I'm in like one of the top guilds in the game, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, you got?"
Thing when you said online phone game,
But that's my picture.
because I'm like, oh, so my brother has become a lady.
You know what? Why are you gay?
That's what I was thinking.
Phone games have come a long way.
Because everyone knows that MOBOs and phone games and stuff like that, that's for ladies.
You're a mobo.
You're playing lady games.
I seen you change your picture on Crunchyroll. What's up with that?
What did I change my picture to?
To the human fighter on Farid?
Himmel the hero.
Yeah, you're not him though. You're the dwarf with the big beard.
No. When I was young, I would be Himmel the hero.
I will change it back and make it where you can't change it. Shark.
What's up, Shark? You can do that, but
I will put the age restriction on yours again so you can't watch Berserk.
just bear in mind these are all things you can do. And also bear in mind that at some point in the future, you will see me. And I don't care if you're disabled or handicapped or sick. I'll still smack the shit out of you.
I will throw a poop bag at you like a grenade.
Nope, because I'll run up and smack that thing while it's under your shirt and everything, and you can run around and wear it.
Damn.
What's on the painting table today, mate? Oh man, too many things. Too many things. I've got this dowel. I think that's how it's pronounced. Shadow probably knows. I need to paint his hair up, but it's basically a genie, but from the earth elemental realm. So I've got to do some dry brushing on him and paint his hair, which will be black, and then paint the robes around him, which will be probably green because that's a nice earth color. Yeah, Semper Fi. Except what mine was is Pro Patria Vigilans. Pro Patria, yeah, which is I think Forever Vigilant or something like that.
Yours was Hog Slayers for life.
That was the unofficial saying for 3-7 infantry, Hog Slayers. But yeah. But the official thing was Pro Patria Vigilans and 7th Infantry Regiment, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, is the highest decorated, like, I think one of the highest decorated infantry units in the history of the United States Army.
You want to hear some BS?
No, not really. No, I can do without.
I was reading that it said that women were really good at multitasking, a lot better than guys. I told my old lady to sit down and shut up, and she wasn't able to do either one of them.
No. Have you ever wondered why women love games involving making friends, farming, and animals? I would say it's if you believe in, which I don't necessarily 100% believe in evolution or whatever, or if you believe in an intelligent designer, which I'm more likely to believe in, it's because they're made that way. Either way you believe, whether you think humanity evolved up from mud and snails, or whether you think God created us, that's just the way women were made. You
have speed paints, don't you, bro?
I have some what?
Speed paints.
Oh, I love speed paints. As a matter of fact, I recently ordered the Vallejo Express Paint box set.
Nice.
The one with the 60 paints in it. Mainly because I've tried contrast paint, speed paint, speed paint 2.0, and Vallejo Express. And I like the Vallejo Express the most. But I mean, right now on the table as I sit here, I've got freaking speed paints all over the table, you know. Uh just ask Brian on Family Guy, right? One thing to think about too, though, guys, is whatever you think you're looking at, your wife sees it different than you because they have better eyesight and they actually do see more colors. So um that's why when, and this has happened to me personally, you go to the store with your wife because she wants to pick out like a color to repaint a room or something. Like when we bought this house, she wanted to repaint it because she didn't like anything about it. And she's showing me these pictures of paint, these little paint swats, right? And I'm having the most difficult time ever telling the difference. It's like the one on the far left and the one on the far right look different, but the closer they got, it was like, but she apparently 100% can tell the difference between drizzle blue and freaking dove blue or whatever.
Eco blue and all that other crap. It's just blue.
And
It's
I'm
blue.
just like, looks like white to me. And she's like, well, it is kind of white, but if you look really close, there's like subtle blue tones. And I'm like, okay, if you say so. Now, this I know is blue because it looks like a blueberry. So, you know,
I'm gonna go eat dinner, bro.
piece of brother.
You know I eat at 5 o'clock. I'm eating late because of you.
All right. Tell mom I said hi.
Oh well, she's laying down right now.
Oh, then how are you eating dinner?
We're having leftover curry. We already warmed it up and she made rice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you made curry yesterday. I remember she told me that. Yeah.
Yeah, and curry is better the next day.
It does get better because all the flavors kind of get
My
together and make friends. But it's like spaghetti the next day is really good. Too bad for you, James. But Army Painter just came out with 320. I saw that. But I don't paint any World War II stuff. The closest you could say I get is World War One, and you know that's a totally different thing. Right now, I'm painting. Like I said, I've got the Bahir. I need to get painted. I got to paint the white, the unicorn on this guy's shield white, so that it's the county of Ulick of Greyhawk.
You guys have a good day.
Thanks for dropping in. Come back later. I've got these Casmi, which are fly demons to paint. Um, and actually, I'm prioritizing the things I paint based on when I'm going to need them in the campaign I'm running. Yeah, late war camouflage. The German, I think they called it P dot, and it came in summer and autumn. It's very interesting, but not super. Oh, you live in Nottingham? All right. All right. Well, I mean, I will say this, the best yellow contrast I've seen so far is a GW paint, and it's Bad Moon Yellow. Bad Moon Yellow contrast, if you put that over white or a zenithal highlighted miniature, it is vivid yellow, almost like a canary yellow. Whereas all the other yellow contrast paints I've seen tend to come out orange. And when you're trying to paint a couple of lamenters or whatever, lamenters are not orange. They're either canary yellow or some people paint them a mustardy yellow. But the ones I paint typically are canary yellow, and I 3D printed their chapter shoulder pad. So that's a lot easier for me to paint since the checker and the heart and everything is actually, molded in. Yeah, I mean, yeah, GW makes the best yellow. That I will 100% agree with. I'm not super happy with any of the whites that, anyone makes. Like the speed paint white, obviously. Now, a great white paint is Pro Acryl. Pro Acryl white is awesome. And Vallejo Game Color white is awesome. This stuff is really good. But every contrast or speed paint white I've used has always looked just gray. And then you got to go back and do the highlight if you want it to actually look white. Now, the good news is I rarely paint anything that requires that much white. So I'm pretty lucky, I am pretty lucky that way, I guess. But if you were the kind of guy that was playing like 40K and decided that you absolutely positively just must have a White Scars Army, man, I'd feel bad for you. Pro Acryl Titanium White is amazing. It really is. But Pro Acryl paints are really, really good. The reason I went with Vallejo Express colors is one, the few that I have, I really, really like. And, I just wanted to give it a shot, really, and see what was up with it, But I've still got, like right here, there's my Pro Acryl Titanium White, even though for some reason the bottom of the thing has been stained. I've also got a lot of Vallejo effects. So this is a Vallejo medium rust effect. But I only use the rust effects when I'm painting my Trench Crusade stuff, just to make it look more gritty and grimy. So let's see, not a plague green. That is not a green that I want. There we go. That's what we want. Vallejo Gunship Green. Yeah, the Pro Acryl paints are awesome. And also, Pro Acryl has some of the best metallics that you're going to find out there. Yes, a lot of my miniatures, let's see if I have it on the table. Well, I have the matte varnish, but what I usually do, this is another Games Workshop product that I always use, is the hard coat, or hard coat as they call it. Hey, what's up, BX Disciple? How you doing, bro? I'll put a nice, even coat of the hard coat on, let it completely dry, sometimes 12 hours, and then come back and hit it with the matte coat. And then that way, my players can actually handle them with their Cheetos coated fingers and not, make me want to lose my shit. So yeah, I do that. Now I do have Army Painter, the actual dip, and those guys, if like when I was dipping up my 13 millimeter or whatever game Warlord Games, excuse me, epic scale is. When I was painting those guys up, I was dipping them, shaking them off, and then put a little bit of a matte varnish on them just to dull it down. But yeah, when you use that, you don't have to worry about the the gloss coat because that varnish is super hard. Wow. Yeah, I think anyone who might want me to like review a product or something, I think after they watch a few of my videos, they're like, no. Like we don't want to be affiliated with that dude. I mean, So that is awesome, Shark. I am happy. I forgot who turned me on to Pro Acryl. I don't know if it was Ninjon or uh, one of the internet painter guys that I do watch occasionally when I'm like if I weren't streaming right now, I would have either Nuxanor or one of the internet painters on, just seeing what they're up to. Yeah, Pro Krill, the set I bought came with all the basic colors, metallics, and then mediums. And then it also the box came with like a pamphlet that showed like, it was really good. So, but yeah, this matte varnish here is Vallejo. And then I've got some Army Painter matte varnish too, because about once a year, I'll end up just buying a box of paints, uh, because I go through a lot of paint, man. That is a fact. I go through quite a bit of paint in a year. So, um, yeah. Recently, I haven't really, other than a few miniatures I know I'm going to need, I have been focusing my 3D printing more on terrain. So, yeah. Which, of course, is a lot slower because, if I put on a bunch of miniatures, say 32 or 28, whatever scale, I can put 20 of them on a build plate and it'll take maybe 2 hours to print with my Saturn 3. But terrain pieces, some of them take 5, 6, 7 hours. Like this thing right here. Of course, there was other things with it, but it took like 5 hours to print out because of this, how big it is. And what this is for is I also printed out a bunch of these, rope ladders. So I'm going to print another one of these out and build a, kind of a, say there's a chasm under here and the players basically, yeah, I'm just building encounter areas and stuff. And here's my box right now of, you can see in there's some, there's a Reaper Goblin Rider, but there's some cavern walls and then some dungeon walls. And, they're all like, so I can set them up however I want. And usually I just mark tunnels and door or corners and doors anyway. I do have a wet palette. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't always use it because sometimes I just get lazy and start spraying dabs of paint on my actual plastic table that I paint on. And when the paint gets really thick, I'll take one of my Case XX knives and just poke it in and peel it up and 60. Damn. Yeah, I just like I said, I used to paint a lot of World War I or World War II stuff. Like if I turn this, no, I've got too much stuff piled on this table because I'm packing stuff up. right there on that top shelf. You can just barely make them out, right? But that is a platoon of Panzer 38Ts, a Panzer 3 off L, a Lancet Italian armored car, 2 M41 Caramados, a Simavante assault gun, and on the far my left, looking at 2 Opel Blitz trucks. And I think those have the tracks on the back instead of the double wheels. Because on the Eastern Front, that was a modification they made. They took the back wheels off and put a track system on. I have an airbrush out in the garage, but I don't use it because my garage is not air conditioned. And here in Florida, even when it's 70 degrees outside, the garage is like 90. So for primer, and I know a lot of people might frown on this, I brush it on. And as long as you use a big soft brush and you don't, over put it on like pudding paint, you're fine. I mean, it works just fine. There's not a single problem in the world with it. The other reason, like, I have been asked why I don't use rattle cans, and it is because Florida, the humidity down here can hit like 100%. I kid you not. And if it's really hot and the humidity's really high, there's the chance that when you go to prime whatever you're priming, that you'll get the popcorn effect on your miniatures, and that absolutely sucks. There's nothing worse than primering up, a $70 freaking 30K whatever, and then having the primer popcorn a section of it, because then your only option is to strip it and try again. $100 paints, gadgets, all the gear and tools, and has a fold up work. See, yeah. So I just answered your question for both of those. I have a what is the make of my airbrush? It still works because every now and then I go out and check it. It's on my shelf out there next to my 3D printers. I guess I could actually bring it in here. I know a lot of people just make like a cardboard box setup and they use their whatever indoors. But I have been freaking stung one too many times by rattle cans for sure. Because one, I'm not using rattle cans in my garage because I'm not trying to inhale a bunch of freaking paint. And then because this is Florida, if I do it during the day, which is when I'm usually up, the sun is beaming down, the humidity is like off the charts, and you end up getting issues as I described. And those issues can completely ruin your whole day. Like I said, you're trying to rattle can primer a Land Raider, which is never going to be easy because, vehicles, and inadvertently popcorn the side of the freaking Land Raider, and then you're like, well, that's nice because the Land Raider Spartan, which is the kind that come in the box set for $30K, those things, if you buy them separately, are like $100+. And now you're out there trying to scrub all that primer off, and just the worst, guys. The absolute worst. So, but I'm not what you would say. I'm I'm not particularly a loyalist to any particular brand of paint. Like there are some paints that I do have a fondness for, like Vallejo or Vallejo, however you say that. But Procryl. But yeah, I will use, like when I used to go to the comic shop to buy my paints, a lot of times, whichever ones were on sale or whatever, had the color I was looking for. That's always an issue. That's what I bought. Yep. Used the brush too. Yep. I got a big, super soft, nice brush, and I primer my miniatures, and I just make sure to put a nice, thin, even coat all over it, and then you let it till the next day. Because primer takes a long time to actually dry. And if you don't let it completely dry, most of the time, maybe nothing happens, but then some of the time, maybe something does happen. I mean, I guess it just depends on how risky you want to be with what you're doing. So, okay, this Dow's coming along pretty good. I haven't showed it to you yet, but yeah, Ninjon's pretty good. You know what, too? And I learned this years ago, and I wish I'd saved the video, and I might have to make a video about this topic at some point in the future. Like throughout the early mid 2000s, I almost never got anything painted. And I mean, that's above and beyond just the fact that I tend to, go from one project to the next nonstop. But it was because I would see people painting. I also love the Jugs girl. I don't think I've seen her. But when you say Jugs, I immediately think of those magazines that were in the paper wrappers at the convenience store that were behind the counter that, you had to be an adult to look at. Anyway, that's back when I used to go buy my Conan magazines all the time. And yes, magazines, not comic books. I never bought the comic books, the color comic books for Conan. I always bought the black and white Savage Sword by Buscema and Ernie Chan, I think, were the main artists and writers on those. And yeah, if you look, the big purple book with the white writing behind me underneath my icons, that is Savage Sword of Conan number 21. Because what they did is they took like every year, half year from Savage Sword of Conan, they put them in one big thick ass book. Max Malman. Well, that's good. That's good, Max. I mean, that reminds me, I recently did a video talking about Trench Crusade, which is a setting that, for the most part, I like, and I've painted up numerous armies for. But the creators of the setting are so monumentally stupid, it hurts. You know what I mean? It just hurts. And the people they got modding their freaking Discord are even stupider than the creators. Like they were trying to make this argument that there is no objective good or evil in Tabletop Minions. He's all right. He is all right. I will watch pretty much anything unless it pisses me off. And it's really hard to do that. You know what I mean? So I'll watch a video by Grim Jim. I'll watch freaking Arch Warhammer. I'll watch pretty much whatever. The guys up in Canada, there's actually a couple of channels like Black Magic Craft. I'll watch his stuff. But oh dear. Yeah, yeah. But then they also made the rule talking about Trench Crusade, which I said this in the video. They're so weird. It's like, okay, one, I think, accidentally created an interesting setting, but they're not sure what to do about it because their leftist political leanings kind of tie their hands. And then on top of that, you have idiots trying to argue there's no definitive good in the setting, even though the setting is about the forces of humanity battling the forces of hell, literally hell. You know what I mean? And, on the one hand, you've got the soldier of New Antioch sitting there in his uniform with his Lee Enfield rifle and maybe a crucifix on him. And on the other hand, you have the completely devoid of any goodness whatsoever heretic legionnaire with like a demon possessed baby strapped to his waist and skulls and shit, and it's like, there's no definitive good and evil, though. And it's like, I don't know, though, because this is what you wrote. And obviously, the guy that's a cannibal and carrying around a demon possessed fetus is going to be a lot more evil than the Irish guy that volunteered to travel from Ireland to Middle East to fight demons. I mean, that's kind of, you would think, self-evident, but like I said, the best thing they said at the convention was that there's no actual official lore and you can do whatever you want. And it's like, that's what I'm going to do, because in their lore, they have decided that the New World was never colonized by Europeans, which would just be a horrible thing if you think about it. And since they're not whatever ethnicity you have to be, they've hired a guy from South America to write all the lore for the New World. And I'm like, wow, that's very racist of you, because they had no problem writing up all the lore for the Slavic countries. And I don't think any of them are Slavs. And even though I think it's a joke, according to the liberal left, Slavs are POCs and are considered an oppressed people. So, you know what I mean? It's like, so dumb. They're so dumb. What's up, Ironcaster? How you doing? I'm just painting a little bit. Like, I'm getting ready to highlight the flesh tones on this dowel. Might touch up his base and make it fancy. There's a gemstone in the middle of that green belt I need to do. I'm thinking red would really stand out. But first, I have to do the metallic around it. Yeah, but like I said in my video, the weird thing about Trench Crusade, which is also a great thing about Trench Crusade, is if you did want to play the game, but you thought the creators were idiots because of some of the shit they say, you can still do both, because there are so many companies out there that are making STLs for Trench Crusade or Trench Crusade type games that you could play the game without ever supporting the guys that created it monetarily at all, if that's what you wanted to do. I don't judge. If somebody wants to play a game written by someone that's like, away, I'm like, yeah, knock yourself out. I mean, But you know, a lot of people do say stuff like never buy games from people who hate you, and I respect that too. Yeah, we don't have a culture, but apparently Slavs aren't white people. We're people of color. Oh, they released the map, and of course, here's the problem with being ultra woke is you're going to get ate alive by the ultra woke. One Page Rules is a good set. When me and my nephew play Warhammer 40K, that's the rule set we use. We don't use the new Warhammer because honestly, it's trash. 10th edition is trash. Um, Thankfully for my Horus Heresy stuff, it's a heavily modified 7th edition, which is pretty good. But when they started adding all the command points and everything like that, they really jacked it up. And one thing I don't understand that they still have not done is alternating activations, because it's like, why wouldn't you do that? You know what I mean? Like, activate a squad, do a thing, then your opponent activates a squad and does a thing. Yeah. Arch does a pretty good job about hitting it up. Like on the Trench Crusade map, Russia never conquered anything. The capital's in Novgorod. Kiev is an independent place or something. It's like, wait, this is supposed to be 1914 or something, right? During that era, the capital was Moscow, and Russia had conquered everything around it. And I don't understand why that would change based on their setting. You know what I mean? Finland is not the Archduchy of Finland, part of the Russian Empire. It's an independent place, and they're fighting snow demons. It's like, but then a lot of the leftists that they're trying to appease got super pissed off at them because the majority of demon gates were in the Middle East. And I've even spoken about this before in previous videos. It's like, well, yeah, where do you think they would be? You know, like, yeah, I agree with you, Lee. All those years ago, because while I did own Rogue Trader, the hardbound book, I'll be honest, I don't think I actually played Rogue Trader correctly ever because of the way the book was written and everything, you know. But when second edition came out, even though a lot of people don't like second edition, that's when me and my brother and some other guys actually figured out, okay, this is how this game is played. And the second edition box set came with like all those Goth boys and Space Marines and Gretchens. And I mean, such a great box set. Cardboard terrain, including a dreadnought made out of cardboard, you know, on a standee. And then third edition was great too. The third edition Warhammer 40K, that was the one where the cover was Black Templars or whatever. And that one was pretty badass too, you know? Yeah, I know, but I love the fact that somebody said that, and the fact that I have Slavic blood, and you know, my pops is from Russia and everything like that. Well, actually, grandmother, not my pops. He was born in America, but still. So that's why I'm all like, in some of my videos when I talk about it, I'm like, you can't disagree with me if you're white, because if you do, it means you're racist because I'm a person of color. I mean, that's the rules, right? If I'm a person of color and you're not a person of color and you talk shit about anything I disagree with, then I'll just call you a racist because, you know, whatever, right? But yeah, the Indo-European people that stretch from northern India all the way to Ireland. So weird. Weird, to quote that maniac. All right. So here's my little bitty dry brush. I need my little bitty one. My little bitty one. Here we are. We'll use this one. And I want to go really, really, really careful with this because I like the dark on this guy. He's supposed to be relatively dark skinned. Being from the plane of Earth and everything like that, you kind of want him to have an earthy skin tone. But at the same time, I want to pick out the highlights just a little bit so that, you know, it doesn't look super muddled. The other thing I've been doing a lot of, guys, is I've been doing a lot of watching Lighthouse horror stories while I'm doing other things. Like, you know, yesterday I straightened up the house a little bit, which is actually way past. I usually do it on Saturday or Sunday, sometimes Friday. But since I wasn't feeling good last week, I put it off until like yesterday or day before, whenever. All right. So the green belt needs a wash. Otherwise, and I like to paint the edge of the bases black. I know some people like to paint them whatever color the top is. I'm leaving his top gray because these guys are only ever really found in dungeons. So I'm not going to put grass on him. But this is, other than the fact that I'm going to put a wash on his green belt to kind of separate it out. This is kind of what we're looking at. And it's not focusing in. Focus. Focus. See the face? Focus on the face. Like he's got a big mustache with brass things and his beard, and he's got his ring and his big belt. Yeah, this adventure that I'm running has a lot of elemental creatures in it. And I have Marids and Genies that I bought from Otherworld Games, but I did not have a Dao. And this is not a new thing. I mean, the Dao apparently go all the way back, at least in gaming. They go back to first edition D&D. So, Wormwood. I like Wormwood. That's a good color. Here I have my giant FX wash, Vallejo wash. Yeah. I mean, hopefully the players will have fun with that. The encounters. Maybe it'll end up like Bear's game, where because I'm playing OSC Advanced, he was playing OSC, and I don't know if you guys watched his game from like a week ago or 2 weeks ago at this point now, maybe. Like his game group got demolished. And it wasn't because Bear was not doing the right things as a DM. He was. It was just that I don't know what was going on. But his game group just could not get their shit together, couldn't get their ducks in a row, couldn't herd their cats, whatever saying you want to say. They just weren't doing it. And as a result, even though he let them start with like max hit points and everything like that, I think some of the actual players were on their like fourth or fifth character. I mean, they were just getting lit up. And it's like, wow, is that adventure that tough? And he's like, no. But apparently, you know, goblins would come out of a room looking for a fight, and half of the group would run, and the other half would stay, and then no one would heal. And, you know, long story short, bunch of people get killed. You know, because we all love it when somebody's in your group and you're like, great, cool, awesome, man. What are you playing? And they're like a cleric. And you're like, oh, man, that's great. And then they're like, but I don't heal. And you're like, what? Parquet? You know, like, wait, what? You're playing a cleric, but you don't heal. Why? Why? Did what happened? You know, what's going on? It's like, it'd be like somebody making a character and choosing to make a fighter and then being like, yeah, I'm a fighter, but I only ever use a bow and I only wear light armor and I refuse to ever like engage in melee. I'll run first. And it's like the occasional stepping outside of type, I'm good with. It's cool sometimes, a little bit, but that's too far for me, you know. If you make a cleric, you kind of, in my opinion, and this may not be a popular opinion, but in my opinion, you kind of have an obligation to heal your group. Oh yeah. They got beat so hard that they decided to quit playing OSC and play 5e D&D. And I'm sitting here thinking OSC is not that hard. I mean, I've ran OSC for years. It's not that hard, but it is that hard if the players are all going freelance and run around doing, you know, like we called it in the fire department, freelancing. Freelancing is what they call it when you're on the scene of a house fire and instead of doing what you're supposed to do or listening to the lieutenant, you're just out there doing whatever the hell you want. That's freelancing. That's a good way to get killed. And Bear's game showed how true that is. Because like I said, his group was just out there freelancing the whole time. Just not working together, not wanting to do stuff. And as a result, death after death after death. And it's just like, meanwhile, my group that I have, because they've been playing together for years now, violence. VSC, what's up, homeboy? Obligation to heal the group only if they are followers of your God. True, kinda. I would say that it depends. Like if you're a lawful good cleric of a deity that's like all about healing and helping people and stuff like that, I would say even if they're not a follower of your God, you're probably going to try to heal them. And then maybe the correct play would be to try to convert them. You know what I mean? Like heal them, keep them alive, and then point out that, you know, they're only alive due to the glory of your deity. That to me would be how I would handle that. Fabula Ultima. I don't know if I've even heard of that. Yeah, wizards not wanting to cast fireball. Actually, let me tell you of the days of high adventure. In my OSC group, they don't have a single wizard. Kinda. They have 2 illusionists. Now, ain't that some shit? Because there's 2 gnomes in their group, and these gnomes have been in the group since the very beginning, years ago. And one of them is a fighter illusionist, and the other one is a thief illusionist. And so, yeah. Now, luckily, somebody in the group has a wand of fireballs that has 10 charges before it's out and does 6d6 damage. So if they really need that big AoE, they can get it, but they do not have an actual wizard in their group. Yeah, that's VSE. That is what I'm talking about. That's how you role play a cleric, in my opinion. If you're good, if you're evil, then, you know, go nuts. do like cast nothing but reverse spells and, you know, carry on. And you know what? That could be a good house rule for anybody in any version of our favorite role playing game. That if the person you're healing is of the same religion as you are, then they heal the maximum amount. And then everyone else, see, that's if you want to be really generous. Everyone else, you got to roll. Or everyone, you could do it where if they're part of your religion, roll as normal. And anyone who's not a part of your religion, you roll as normal, but they only heal half. And if they're of a religion or ideology that's absolutely opposed to your religion, you can't even heal them. Like if you're a lawful good cleric and you're trying to heal a chaotic evil, whatever, thief, fighter, whatever, your God's probably going to be like, no. Like, what are you, crazy? Why are you even hanging out around this guy? He's obviously a jerk, you know? At least that's what I think, you know? But yeah, I remember the old Hackmaster. It had, I mean, some of the rules were good. A lot of it, though, as I'm sure you know, was just done as a joke because that's what Kinzer does. Kinzer and Company, they like jokes. Okay, so I got his base rim painted black, magnetized, and this is pretty much done. Oh, look, he's focusing in too. Now, what I'll do is I'll give him a hard coat when he's completely dry, then let that completely dry. Then I'll do a matte coat, except on the gemstones and the metal. I'll leave the gloss coat on those. And that way, the metal and the gems will look glossy and everything else will be. But yeah, that would be an easy house rule. And I would think that honestly, it kind of should be a house rule that, you know, like if you were a paladin and you used lay on hands on a chaotic evil guy, your god might strip your paladin hood from you. Like if you knew the guy was chaotic evil. I mean, yeah, your deity, which in the game I run, Greyhawk is usually like Heronius or whatever, or Paylor, because you know how you're allowed that one shift. So if you're lawful good, you can follow a neutral good deity, etc. Which I don't mind because one of my favorite deities in Greyhawk is Hextor. And if I get to play, I could play a fighter who worships Hextor, but instead of being lawful evil, he's lawful neutral. But he still believes might makes right, which is pretty much Hextor's whole thing, you know. He's a mercenary soldier that believes, you know, in nothing but the power of the blade, you know. Interesting stuff. But I got one of my pig-faced orc chieftains. I need to do his teeth. But yeah, you know, he's got his shield and all that. I've got not only the 3D printed pig-faced orcs from Warp Games I've made, but also like 20 of the Otherworld miniatures, which is now Badger miniatures. Guys, so huge fan of the pig-faced orc. Huge fan. And also, even though there are apparently lots of people who want to disagree, in my opinion, orcs are evil. They come out of their little orc mommy's womb, the litter of them, all just evil as shit. Now, the Christian in me wants to argue that they can be redeemed, but the Greyhawk player in me is like, F that, they're just evil. You know what I mean? It's a difficulty. Even Tolkien had a problem debating with the guy over whether or not orcs could be redeemed or not. And I don't think he actually ever answered definitively, because the Roman Catholic part of him did not want to think that any creature could be completely beyond redemption, but, or I should say, any mortal creature, obviously. Yeah, bards that are a bunch of foppish. Nah. The last time I had a bard playing my game, my wife was playing that bard and she was kicking ass. There were a couple of times where her intervention actually saved the group. And it wasn't just it wasn't, I'm going to sing the song of courage. It was like, there's some ogres charging down a passageway at you. And she's like, well, then I'm going to cast grease on the passageway. And then the ogres, when they ran through the grease, had to make saves, and the ones that failed the save, fell on their ass, which allowed the players, some time to try to whittle them down a little bit. All right, what time we got? Yeah, I might get going here. It's been about an hour. I need to touch up around him. You can see where I went over a little bit. But this cleric in plate armor, right? If you're a Greyhawk fan, you're going to recognize this. Let me see if I can get the focus. If I can stop shaking long enough, let's say. And if you don't, because it's not going to focus in for some reason, that is the purple shield with the white unicorn, which would be, if memory serves, to quote the chairman from Iron Chef, that would be the symbol of the county of Ulick. And the 3 Ulick states are my absolute favorite parts of Greyhawk, along with the entire Sheldamar Valley. Of all of the places in Greyhawk that you could be from and adventure in and everything like that, the Sheldamar Valley has always been my favorite, just because you can fight with the orcs on the Pomarge. If you're human or not elven, you can fight with the elves in Selene, because they're a bunch of jerks to anyone that's not an elf or a gnome. You can go to Keoland. You can go to the mountains. See, I'm neating that shield up. So there you go. He is a cleric from the county of Ulick. That's just new characters, Shark. That's the 5e 6e thing. Characters want to be over sexualized and go to the prom and all this kind of crazy shit. My players do not. I mean, occasionally they do talk to the NPCs and try to get over whatever they're trying to get over. Like, hey, do you know the direction to this place or that place? But yeah, none of that weird ass shit's going on. They're way too busy trying to figure out where the local dungeon is, where, because almost everybody in my group, except for a couple, are good, aligned. Then there's a lot of let's go help people and do good things because we're good people. I need to work on this elf wizard's base. And yes, guys, I'm going to show her to you before I go. I did the hair wrong. It shouldn't be the color it is, but I like it. So I'm going to leave it that way. Some of you may recognize her. And those of you who don't recognize her, it's Freyrin from Freyrin Beyond Adventure's End. Except I made her hair blonde, and that's that contrast yellow I was talking about. Look how nice that is. The GW contrast yellow. Nice. Now, I do have one correctly painted with the platinum white hair, but I don't know. I kind of like the blonde. I need to do a light gray dry brush on her the clouds under her feet, and then do the base up. But yeah, too many people, I don't know. If they're not using D&D as some kind of weird dating simulator, or they're not trying to relive high school for some reason, they're trying to use D&D as some kind of self-therapy so that they can get over some weird shit. And it's like, look, dude, your dad doesn't hate you. Your mom doesn't think you suck. Or maybe they do. I don't know. But maybe you should consider what you've been doing. No, that's Freyrin. I would never stoop so low, even though I have access to the STLs. I would never stoop so low as to actually print out and paint the Sailor squad, because apparently you've got Sailor Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, whatever. There's a whole team of them. And I never even watched that cartoon when I was a kid because I was like, this is cringe. My favorite cartoons were Dungeons and Dragons and Thundar the Barbarian. And then after those, it was like the Hanna-Barbera Adventure Era hour where you could watch like the Space Family Robinson or whatever, and like all those kind of weird cartoons. Those were really good. But anywho, got my Dow painted, got my bee here mostly painted. I need to let some stuff dry so I can put some I got my Bodak here that I need to paint the base gray, and the Bodak was easy to paint because they're just black. Yeah, that's that Games Workshop yellow. It is absolutely the best. And like I said, as a guy who used to have like 4,000 points of Lamenter's Space Marines, I wish this stuff existed 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Because when I started painting my Lamenters, it was before the whatever Marines were released, is back when it was just, the Mark 9s and 7s and whatever. And I had to hand paint every one of those bastards yellow. And yeah, the Bahir is, I didn't own one. I still need to do his teeth and claws and then do his base. But I 3D printed him out and then put him on a 90 mil base, magnetized. And I've got my Vallejo diorama mud that I'm going to have to get an old spatula and spread around and hopefully not get all over him. And he'll be ready to constrict and lightning attack some players or something. Damn, that is a cool looking shield though, that purple and white. I mean, the Oleg states are, as a Greyhawk guy, the Sheldamar Valley really is. I got this guy, which I 3D printed. Some of you will recognize him, even though he's not wanting to focus in. I'm sure a few of you are like, hey, I know that guy. And the answer is yes, you do. He's a barbarian by the name of Conan. So I could probably highlight his flesh just a little bit to make it show off a little bit better. But or instead of highlighting it by dry brushing, go in and like actually pick out the individual muscles. I've done that, but I need to actually finish his base. That's why his base is green, because he's going to get a grass base. And by painting it green, when I put the flock on, if there's any little gaps in there at all, you won't see them. So that's why I paint the bases green, or sometimes mud brown, so that, you know, like sometimes I'll just do up a bunch of bases with this mud effect and then paint or glue the figures straight to it. Yeah, you know, huge fan of Conan. Another guy I recently finished. This guy, not perfect. I need to do the on the back brown instead of blue, but some of you guys will recognize this guy. And for those of you who don't recognize him, that's Warduke, the level 9 fighter with the plus something, +1 or +2 sword that can burst the flame on command, and magic armor, and he's got 56 hit points. And why? Because I've actually used him in my game. As a matter of fact, Hungar left, but one character Hungar was playing before he started playing the one he's playing now got killed round 1 by Warduke, because Warduke ran up and nat 20'd him with a Vorpal weapon. And it was like, boom, your fighter is dead. And they're like, oh shit. But they ended up beating Warduke. They cheated, but it was a good idea. So they didn't really cheat, but they what they did was like whatever. But yeah. So peace and love, guys. I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for joining me. And yeah. I actually, right before I go, I've actually got the mounted and the on foot Venger, and I am 100% thinking I am going to throw him into my campaign somewhere, you know. And I've also got all of the kids, except they're grown up. They're right up there, the miniatures of the kids from the D&D comic, but they're all grown. And I might throw them in as NPCs, you know what I mean? Like if my group of 7 or 8 or 9, depending, players encountered them, and, you know, they help each other to try and do something. I mean, is it kind of corny? Yes. But could it be a lot of fun? It could be a lot of fun. Plus, it's like a callback to those, you know, old cartoons. And maybe I've got a Dungeon Master figure here too, the little bald gnome right here. Yeah, I've got my little bald gnome Dungeon Master. I can have him pop up and like tell him some riddles or some shit and then vanish into the blue, just to be like, I don't know, maybe, you know, I do take the game serious, but maybe not that serious. But peace and love, all of you. God bless. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week. If I don't see you, and if I don't see you, don't worry. I'm